Hello, everyone. Welcome to our time together to talk about my spirit guide, Phillip, giving answers to your questions. And so I thank you for being with us today. And we're going to get started here real quickly. I want to first address the terrible tragedy that happened in the U.S., another horrific school massacre, commonly referred to as school shootings. We do have a question that we're going to answer in the next video next week. It felt a little soon. I didn't know if I could get through it, number one. And number two, our question this week is kind of a follow-up to our free will. Do we have free will in spirit world? And so this week's kind of a follow-up to that. But next week we will, the question came in, why are there so many mass shootings, mass murders in the U.S.? Why children? Did these children agree at a soul level? Did their parents? And so we're going to look at that question and get Philip's response to that, but not today. Today, our question is of a different nature. And again, it's kind of a follow-up about free will in spirit world, and it talks about soul consciousness. We will also get a message from my spirit guide, who is Phillip, and this is one of my books, The Master's Book of Answers by Phillip. And as many of you know, we just flip through. Each page is a different wisdom, and so we will get the answers too. We'll get our soul message for this week as well for that. For those of you who are interested in what's going on in spirit world, I recommend this book. This is another one of my book. Hello, Johanna. So good to see you. She says, hello, Diana. Sending prayers to every family. Absolutely. You know, it's been a few years, but in a community close to me, out here in the middle of nowhere, our communities are all 20 minutes or 30 minutes away. And this one happened to be 20, West Liberty. And we had a shooting at the school. And there was a death, and you just don't come back that easily from something like that. Even though I don't have children in school, we still, our hearts go out to the families and the children. And again, thank you. Absolutely. We have to do something about gun control in this country. So I'm going to leave that alone because honestly, I don't think I can get through it. I don't think I'm strong enough to be able to talk about it right now and get through it without bringing us all to tears. So we're going to follow up with last week. But I do want to mention this book, The Found Child. It is available like this book on Amazon. And this one, excuse me, is actually a journey through spirit world. And it reads like it reads like a novel, but the question is it fiction or is it true? And I will tell you, it's fiction based on truth. How's that? So let's get going here. And so glad you could join us live, Johanna. Okay, here's the question. And if you have questions, by the way, I do ask that they're of a general nature. Just put them in the comments below. And by the way, thank you for the thumbs up and the help. Lexi Luna, so glad you could join us. She says, happy Friday to Diana, Phillip, and all watching. Have a wonderful weekend full of love, blessings, and laughter. Stay safe. Yes. You know, I want to mention something about laughter, and then we'll get to the question. During my Sacred Circle Zoom, which you are all welcome to join. You can just go to the website and find out more about the one coming up in June. I think it's June 24th, I believe. I have to go look at the date myself. But one of the women said she was so sad about what was taking place in the world, and certainly in the U.S. And she said she didn't feel like she was helping anybody, and she didn't, she was crying. And I started laughing. Now, a few people who have worked with me for years knew what was coming, and I could see their smiles coming. But I just started laughing, and it seemed very rude because here this poor lady is crying, and she finally got it, and she said, laughter. And I said, yes. When our hearts are breaking, one of the best things we can do is not stuff it, not ignore it. We may have to cry. We may have to even, I equate it to putting a book on the shelf to read later. That's okay. But what I want you to know is laughter. Thank you. Laughter. You have to laugh, and that adds love to the world. When you are so down, you might hear Daisy out in the other room barking. She's saying hello to everyone. But when you are so down, if you can just get yourself laughing, and every ounce of laughter that you send out to the world helps heal our world. So please don't ever feel guilty for laughing, and don't ever stop laughing. And thank you for sending laughter to us, Lexi Luna. And Johanna says, I have your book, Great Teaching for You. I have your book, Great Teachings for You Plan a Second. Oh, do I plan a second? And I think you're talking about this one. There is a sequel, supposedly. It's about the story between the two, not, well, Phillip will be there. Davy may be there, but it's the story of the two lovers that meet in the end. But it hasn't come, and I haven't taken time to push it. And so I don't know. I better get busy though, hadn't I? It's complete in itself, so it doesn't need a sequel, but people have asked, write another one. So we'll get busy on that. And Lexi Luna says, hi, Daisy. And Daisy is saying hello to everybody. You know, it's amazing that she's still with us, but she is. For the last 2 years, it's been every day is a blessing, and every day is a surprise to have her with us. So thank you. And yesterday, I have to tell you, the other day, we were out in the meadow. It was dry enough to get her out into the meadow, and she was running around like bouncing. She doesn't just run, she bounces. She's half border collie and some lab in there, and we don't know what else. Border collie because she's black one side and white the other down her face, for those of you who have seen her. So anyway, let's get going here. Here's our question. It's kind of a long question. In your video that speaks of our free will, and she may keep up the barking for a little bit. She's heard my voice and she's saying, Mom, come out here. I keep the animals out of the office when I'm trying to do this because it is a distraction, and I'm trying to concentrate on what we're doing here. Anyway, here's the question. In your video that speaks of our free will in spirit world, you said that to enter higher realms in spirit, we must have the soul's consciousness aligned. Please speak to the soul's consciousness. What is it? How is it different from human consciousness? How do we align it with higher realms of consciousness while in human bodies, once in spirit world? So what's our consciousness once we're in spirit world? What's our consciousness in humanness? Well, we kind of know what it is in humanness, but here's what Phillip has to say. When a human leaves the body behind, death, as the world refers to it, the consciousness of the being continues. You, the human person, are consciousness with a body. Once you return to spirit world, you are still you, sans a body. You have only laid down your body. You still exist, just in a different energetic form. Once you understand this, and this is Phillip's, I'm a teacher. Once you understand this, all your questions asked are answered. However, we shall continue and give you answers to your questions. Okay, Phillip, thank you. We are definitely not at your level, Phillip. We understand that. Excuse me. Excuse me, I swallowed wrong. See what happens when I make fun of Phillip? It gets me in the throat, doesn't it? All right. Bless you, Philip. Thank you. I'll behave now. I want to also say it isn't that Philip questions all of you. He is working with me answering this question for you. So he's probably mainly questioning me, my ability to know what's going on. So here we go. Let us say that you are a spirit being who creates a soul line as you move between the human world and spirit world. You incarnate as humans, then die and spend time in spirit world before incarnating again into third dimension energy. The record of these incarnations and spirit world lives is the soul's record. To simplify, spirit is what you are. Soul is what you create as you with the energy you express as. Spirit is the book. Soul is the story within the book. I have another video, and I meant to put the link below. I'll go back in and try to do that. But I will put it up for those of you who are my Facebook friends. I'll put it up on Facebook, probably not today, but I'll put it out there on Facebook as well. But go ahead and look it up. It's what does an umbrella have to do with life or soul's journey? I'm not sure exactly the right title, but it explains it. It gives you a visual for what Philip's about to tell us. And I think that visual is helpful. So it's about an umbrella. What does an umbrella have to do with the soul's journey or something to that? And again, I will put if I don't get it in my comments, or if I don't get it in the information right below, I'll put it in the comments. So look it up, please. It'll help you. But here's what Philip has to say. As spirit, you chose to experience third dimensional life, so you created soul. This is one we call a young soul. As you experience human life or other third dimensional life forms, you grow to an old soul. A young soul has much to learn, just as a young human does. As experiences take place, they influence the consciousness of the human, which is also the consciousness of the soul. What the human thinks, feels, study, does, all influences and experiences on the human consciousness is also written on the soul's consciousness. When there is no longer a physical third dimensional body, the consciousness is soul consciousness. Soul consciousness is closer to the spirit, both the individual spirit and all spirit, than is the human consciousness. This is because 1, soul was created directly from spirit, and 2, soul is pure in that it has no direct influence from human consciousness other than that which you allow to remain. Think of the levels. 1, your spirit. 2, you created soul consciousness. And 3, from that, you create the human consciousness. Human consciousness does not have the watershed of spirit world that comes between human lives, and it can be more discerning. So what Philip is saying here is, in our soul consciousness has spirit world consciousness when we're in dead, so to speak, between life experiences. So the soul consciousness is closer to spirit. It has more discernment in it. It is more because it has that time in spirit world. As humans, we take on a consciousness from the human world as well, but we don't lose our soul consciousness. Remember that. Whether in human form or spirit form, the desire to evolve to higher energy for greater understanding can be obtained simply by asking and then doing the required study and work. As in human form, one progresses as one learns a subject or talent. The same is true in spirit form. It is also true that as a human dies, they bring into spirit world their human life, their beliefs and actions. This must all be dealt with at the onset of death. Of course, this depends on the individual and may be delayed either because the individual does not know they have left their body behind, or because their fear is so great they are yet unable to move out of that fear, to move out of it, he says, and I added to that fear. To move into higher energy, one must first move through the energy they are currently in with love and grace. One cannot spend their human life yelling at others and then demand to speak with higher energy ones upon death. Their consciousness is simply not ready. If not ready, the consciousness can be overwhelmed, which may take quite a bit of time and practice to stop the overwhelmed consciousness so it can function. I think that's really important. So I want to read that again because I think this is really what Phillip is saying about when last with the free will, when he said, you can't just automatically go to the highest levels. And this is saying if we're not ready, the consciousness can be overwhelmed, which may take quite a bit of time and practice to stop the overwhelmed consciousness so it can function. Equate this to the damage of electricity. Will the electricity work correctly if you plug 220 volt into a 110 volt or vice versa? The electricity will not work properly. Whether in human form or spirit form, whether human consciousness or the soul's, the consciousness is developed by that which it is fed. Are you feeding yourself anger or compassion, fear or calm acceptance, hate or love? Spirit, which is always pure love, is always available to the soul's consciousness, which is always available to the human consciousness. At any time, as a human or as a spirit, love is available to you. You simply must have the consciousness to accept it. I always like to read that last part again, so here it goes. Whether in human form or spirit form, whether human consciousness or the soul consciousness, the consciousness is developed by that which it is fed. Are you feeding yourself anger or compassion, fear or calm acceptance, hate or love? Spirit, which is always pure love, is always available to the soul's consciousness, which is always available to the human consciousness. At any time, as a human or as a spirit, love is available to you. You simply must have the consciousness to accept it. And that, my friend, is what Phillip has to tell us about soul consciousness. Don't forget to go check out that umbrella. What does it have to do with it? It gives you the visual of spirit and the soul line, and then the human, and then the soul line and the spirit. So spirit is pure love. Soul is consciousness, is what we create in human form and in spirit world. And then human consciousness is what we create in human form. We always have available to us the soul line's consciousness and our spirit, which is pure love. And Daisy is still talking to us, isn't she? She's usually quiet. She's usually sleeping when we work together, but not today. All right, here we go. I'm hearing right. So if you heard right, our intuition is just in sync. If you heard left, please be sure and listen to that message because that one's for you. Hello, Dawn. She says, thank you for the message. Live in love. Yes, live in love. That doesn't say we never get angry. It doesn't say we don't get upset at things. Hello, my beautiful friend from South Wales. Namaste to all, she says. Yes. Love is an action verb. It's not just an emotion. And so we have to take action in love. And when we have an issue, that this isn't about stuffing the issues and only experiencing love, not at all. It's about taking that love and applying it to the issue. And how do we address this? Very simple example. If somebody cuts you off in traffic, how do you deal with that? Do you say, bless you and bless me? Do you give them some finger language? Do you yell at them? Do you say, hey, I'm glad you're in front of me and not behind me? Or I've been known to say, hey, I'm glad I'm not married to you. Different things. And that there comes back to that laughter, because Laughter adds love to the world. All right, here's our message for this week. I love it. Life is in constant motion. That's if you heard right. That's for all of us. That's the message for all of us. Life is in constant motion. And yes, it is. So we can change it. We can change it at any moment. And we can turn that dread, we can turn that horrificness, that sorrow into love. Music Watch, Pablo says, too difficult being Russian at this time, constant guilt. Yes, it is very difficult being an American at this time, believe me. But what I want to say to you is, you, just because you're, as soul, well, let me say this. I don't want to lose my place here because I want to read the left. As souls, we chose the country we were coming into for a purpose. And so even if all you do in the US or in Russia, it's not that we don't mourn what's going on. We certainly do. We mourn what's taking place in Ukraine, and that our country leaders would do that. We mourn what's happening in the US, and that our country's leaders would allow guns to rule and murder children. We mourn that. At the same time, we have a responsibility to speak out if possible. And in Russia, that is not always the right thing to do, or the safe thing to do, or the okay thing to do, because there are other ways. In the US, we have to speak out, we have to vote. In Russia, we can all around the world, we can hold the world in light. Guilt, feel it, understand it, and then move into love. And that love helps the world heal, helps Ukraine heal, helps Russia heal, helps the children, parents. That's a longer way to heal those children, but it can help us heal this world. It is the only thing that will help us heal this world. So yes, thank you, and bless you. And know our hearts are with those in Russia as well as Ukraine, who are so against this horrific war. I have no better word for it than war. And our hearts certainly are with all of the families and the children who just went through this horrific massacre in Texas. And add our love to the world. It does make a difference. It may not seem like it, but it does. Let's create the new world. And I remind you, life is in constant motion. Life is in constant motion. If you heard left, this is something you need to pay attention to. Do not allow pride to stand in the way of your growth. Do not allow pride to stand in the way of your growth. So if you heard left, then step back and say, what is stopping me from growing? Am I being too proud about something? Is that getting in my way? And we've all been there. We've all do that. So let's not feel guilty. Let's look at our guilt. Let's look at who we are, and let's create a world. And let's remember, life is in constant motion. Oh, my friends, we're here in this together. I am so grateful for each of you. I'm grateful for you coming. Daisy is still talking to us, which is very unusual for her. But I'm so glad that you're all here. I thank you for the love that you add to the world in whatever form. And it may just be smiling at a stranger. I'm still wearing a mask out in public. I've had my vaccinations, I've had my boosters, but I still wear a mask out in public. And part of that is, if I'm asymptomatic, I don't want to pass it and have the virus. I don't want to pass it on. I also don't want to get it because I want to make sure I'm here on Fridays for you. All that said, when I'm out in public, other people who are also wearing masks, we have these beautiful smiles. And you can see the smiles in our eyes. Smile, my friends. Pass the love along. Don't ignore what's happening, but pass the love. And make sure you pass it to yourself. I wrote in my journal, if I can find it real quickly, I just want to read something to you that I wrote yesterday. I was sitting down at the lake, and this just came to me, and I'm not going to find it quickly enough exactly how I said it. But basically what I was saying is what I don't want you to do. Ah, here it is right in front of me. Imagine that. It was on the next page. It says, do not get so lost in the world's fears and angers that you forget your spirit's promise to you. You are love. You are loved. Do not get so lost in the world's fears and angers that you forget your spirit's promise to you. You are love and you are loved. I love you, my friends. Thank you for the love that you send our way. Thank you for the love you receive from us. Until we meet again. And I will be doing June's predictions, probably not today, but I will get to those no later than Monday, maybe over the weekend. We'll see. But thank you for being with me today, holding me in your love and accepting the love we send to you.